Forza Horizon 3. If you like arcade-style racers set on open-world maps or any previous Horizon title, this is a game you'll probably enjoy. If you're looking for anything other than an arcade racer on an open-world map, you're probably going to find all of those 100 out of 100 and 9.5 out of 10 critic reviews to be just a tiny bit misleading. Let's start off with the problems in Forza Horizon 3. It seems that for every one thing that the developers took the time to do right, 3 or 4 other things were completely half-baked. I know that IGN has called this game a quote-unquote masterclass in open-world racing, but to me, mastery implies an appreciable command over all domains being demonstrated. In the context of a video game, this means that the game excels at everything that it attempts to do, not just its core. MotorStorm, for example, was a masterpiece. It focused on off-road arcade racing, graphics, and over-the-top special effects. Nothing was tacked on, nothing was unnecessary, and at no point did it try to be anything other than what it was. Horizon 3, on the other hand, has more phoned-in features than a Gran Turismo game. Now, a few examples of this. Every now and then how it works in this game is you'll be driving down the road and you'll pass some other player's drivatar. And these drivatars are supposed to be calibrated to the driving style of the person who they're based on, blah, 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 blah. But when you race them, they obey a driving line that, for all intents and purposes, is pre-programmed. There is no race, easy, medium, or hard, that is distinguishable from one another unless you deliberately drive the same racing line as the drivatar. Because this being an open world, you can just go straight to the objective or the finish line. Okay, this is not Call of Duty, we don't have objectives. And so every single time that I've been in a race in this game, winning is just a choice of by how much. Okay, we can drive the driving line and follow the rules, so to speak, and we might have a close race, possibly. Even though I have the difficulty setting all the way to the top, up to unbeatable, most of the races that I find myself getting into are against easy opponents. I don't know why this is. It might be affected by my driver level. I don't know. But occasionally I get into a hard race, and not only are the hard races not really all that hard when you race them fairly, the simple fact of the matter is that you can just drive straight to the finish line by cutting through the middle of the map. To me, that's just completely broken. Because you have certain things in the game like the bounty system and everything, and that's where a car will have a target painted over it on your mini-map, and if you beat that driver, you'll get a bunch of extra bonuses. And that's all fine and great if it's in line with the core game, with the racing that you do in the core game, where everything is set up and you have to go through checkpoints and everything, where there's some level of order. When you remove that order, what happens is you just get easy cash, easy experience, easy whatever is awarded for taking down a bounty, because you can just drive straight to the finish line. The upgrade system for the vehicle suffers from this same thing, and that is that it really doesn't have any real depth or meaning other than to change your play style with a particular car. This is epitomized by the fact that I have, and you'll see it on the screen here, a solid gold Willys Jeep that does 207 miles an hour in a in a straight line. Okay, this thing will eat a Lamborghini alive. Okay, and so basically, it's a four-wheel drift machine with ridiculous power, with ridiculous torque. That is completely unbelievable, completely broken. Okay, there's no race you can't win in this unless it is something like it's one of the street races, where in which case, the grip will get you. It can't corner all that well against upper tier exotics and everything. But other than that, right, this thing is unbeatable. Why? Because the upgrade system is broken. You can turn any car into a rocket ship. You can turn any car into an all-wheel drive rocket ship. And for the most part, it doesn't do anything other than take the game from being interesting to being win mode. The exception being the Lamborghini Huracan, which turns into a freight train, a very fast freight train I might add, but a freight train once fully upgraded. Doesn't like to turn. The secondary gameplay in the game is also not really anything to write home about. You have the festivals, and the festivals you upgrade, it doesn't really do much. Okay, you get perks. This is the RPG elements that they put into the game, and again, it doesn't really affect gameplay all that much, except for in higher tiers, as you unlock things, you get closer and closer to bigger rewards, like unlocking supercars, hypercars, that sort of thing, for completing certain tile sets on the skill screen. But basically, all you do at the end of a race is watch a bunch of progress sliders tell you that you got a bunch of experience points and accumulated a bunch of fans, and it doesn't really do much beyond that. And the experience points or the skill points are another system that can just be gamed to death on this game. It is fun when you're in a race, a tight race with a lot of traffic, to bob and weave and drift and do all these things and accumulate legitimate score points. But it's very, very exploitable in that it records everything for points. If you run over a bush, you get points. If you just get a little bit sideways, you get points. And you can actually just rank up and just rake in hundreds of thousands of points. I say hundreds of thousands because it might be millions, but I got tired of doing this after about 100,000. But you can just drive in circles. So, at the end of the day, we have to say, what's in the game, what is it, what's the appeal of the game? And the appeal of the game here is that for all the flaws and all the things that it doesn't do correctly, in my opinion, all the things that are broken, all the flaws and everything, is the game still fun at its core? And the answer to that question is that if you like arcade racers, yes. The off-road racing in this game is some of the most fun I've had with an off-road racing game since I've played MotorStorm. Now, it is not anywhere near the fun of MotorStorm because it lacks some of the sophistication of MotorStorm. It lacks the special effects. It lacks the persistent ground deformation and everything. But it is really, really fun as an off-road arcade game. The street racing is nothing out of the ordinary. It is the same thing that you've played in every other game, with the exception that you're not confined to a track. And when you bring in co-op and you bring in your friends and everything, and you compete in challenges, and you take part in all of the different types of races and variations of these races in this game, you can have a lot of fun for quite a while, because they were able to avoid the pitfall that a lot of these games have, and that is of being overly repetitive. They've designed the events in such a way that the map doesn't get stale too fast. There's enough variation in the tracks, there's enough variation in the length of the tracks, the difficulty of tracks, to keep it interesting. And with the way that the AI scales with your own personal skill, which is apparently based off of how far ahead you finish races in first place, how much time between you and the next racer, it will scale to the point where things continue to be competitive, irrespective largely of what you do, unless again you go win mode in the upgrade shop and just throw out something that's unbeatable, Gran Turismo style. So at the end of the day, who's gonna like it? I've said it twice already. Arcade people, if you like arcade racing and you don't mind the flaws that I talked about just a little while ago, you're probably going to enjoy this game. You're going to have a lot of fun with it. And once you add the multiplayer and the co-op and everything, and this isn't the multiplayer review, this is just the single player with the co-op, you're going to probably get your money's worth out of it, because there's a lot of stuff to do. Not everything is super polished, but what's important is the core gameplay, and the core gameplay is solid. If you want something that is a truly polished gem, a masterpiece, if you're looking for a simulator, if you're looking for something with incredible depth, if you're looking for something that has anything beyond simple arcade racing, you're probably going to be disappointed. This is a game that they're right now asking $60 for. $60 if you're into arcade racing might be a little bit steep. I'd say this is a $50 game, a $40 game, definitely a $40 game, but if you really want value, they're releasing expansions. I would wait for a complete edition later on down the road, because you're not going to miss anything, and you're still going to have just as much fun later on. If you want that full experience, if you want your mind blown and you want something more than just pretty graphics and arcade, you're not gonna get it here. This is something that you can pass on. All that said, if you like the video, you like the review, leave a comment below, like, share, subscribe, and let me know if you guys would like a more scripted approach to this stuff or a conversational style. I started the review off in a scripted format. I didn't feel like writing anymore halfway through, kind of crunched for time, so I just decided to talk about the rest of it. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and you guys have fun.